So what do I mean by optimize on your life as opposed to your bank account? You know, there's a couple things. Let's go for a walk and let's talk about this. The first thing is, recently I did a video on millionaires and how they became millionaires. And, you know, there were four main categories of how people became millionaires. And the one that many of you commented on, that you identified with, and it's my category as well, is the saver investor. Right, kind of, you know, we've done a good job of saving our whole lives. We've invested it. Things have worked out, fortunately, on the investment side, and we're able to build up our net worth over time. And in that video, I shared about, you know, I think the rule of thumb in the U.S. of saving 10% of what you earn. I think, unfortunately, that's too low, right? So And I shared, you know, I think the number, you know, you try to save as much as you can reasonably, and that's really, this is like part 2 to that video, as much as you can reasonably. And, you know, to me, if you can save 20%, that feels like a lot, as long as you don't have to sacrifice too much to make that happen. So at one extreme is kind of you save nothing, or unfortunately you pile on credit card debt and you're actually negative, right? At the other extreme, there's a movement that many of you have probably heard of called FIRE. And it's an acronym, FIRE. And what FIRE stands for is financially independent and retire early. But the problem with FIRE is it really recommends young people in their 20s and 30s really pile away as much money as they can in their savings. You know, anywhere up to 50% or maybe more of their savings. And you know, you're only 20 years old once, and those are fun years. And yes, I think it makes sense to do some saving in that age group. Although, you know, I do think it's okay when you're in your 20s. There's things you can do in your 20s that it's a window of opportunity that's really hard to do later in life. You know, maybe you just graduated from college and some of your friends are going to Europe backpacking, and it's going to cost you $10,000. You know, for somebody that works in the financial advising industry, you know, many financial advisors would say, oh, you know, $10,000 at that age, put that in a Roth, and what's that going to be worth? But you know, what are those memories going to be worth, right? And this is a window that you can do that. You know, many of your friends right after college, unfortunately, you're not going to be as close to them in 20 years. And you may never have an opportunity like this again. So I think it's okay to factor in these life issues when you're looking at how much to save. And with the FIRE movement and the recommendation of in the FIRE movement of saving 50%, you know, I've talked to people that are doing that, and it creates a lot of stress. And then you're going to be retired for an awful long time. And, you know, part of work is hopefully, you know, that we have fun and get purpose and identity through work. So I don't think it's about crossing the finish line. I think it's about living a life well lived. And so, you know, I think saving 50%, if it's sacrificial, if it's causing you to miss out on opportunities, is probably too much. So what are some good benchmarks? What are some good goals to have? And I want to thank those of you that have commented in the comments section of my videos and shared. You know, some of our viewers are further along in their journey, and you know, maybe they're already 65 or 70 or older. And one of the things folks said is just how happy they were to be debt-free, you know, in their late 50s or early 60s. And they really said, you know, to the extent that you can, boy, really try to avoid debt. And when you're retired, you know, try to get that mortgage paid off. Try to get the other loans paid off before you retire. And I think that's great advice. And so rather than, you know, the FIRE movement is all about retiring as soon as you can, you know, in your 30s if possible. And I just think you miss out on life too much if you do that. By the way, hopefully you like the quieter trains where I'm at now. I'm no longer where I was filming before. But I do think one goal is, boy, if you get your mortgage paid off in your 50s, I think that really sets you up really well for later in life, and to starting to have a lot of options and a lot of alternatives as you start thinking about when do you want to retire. And you know, it gives you flexibility if you decide to retire earlier, or God forbid if you know, involuntarily you lose your job, because you know, in your 50s it's hard to find another good job like that. So anyways, this video has really been just about balance and finding that sweet spot. And usually there's one spouse that is a really good saver and frankly enjoys saving, and the other spouse doesn't think it's so much fun. So if you're watching this video with your spouse, you're probably, one of you are getting an elbow in the ribs. And if you're not the one that enjoys saving as much as the other spouse, maybe forward this video over to your partner that does enjoy saving more. And it's about balance. And yes, our retirement accounts are important, but so are our memory accounts. You know, I tell people we retire as much on our memories as we do on our retirement accounts. And I think that that's super important. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button, leave me a comment. I love reading the comments. Right? We're building a great community here. So thank you for all of you that share a comment. Let me know what video you'd like me to do in the future, and I'll try to weave it in if it's an area that I think I have something worthwhile to share with you. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Use this time wisely.